say freedom, freedom, freedom coming, it won't be long. Freedom.
Because I'm sure everybody knew lunch counters weren't the real issue. I mean, who's going to risk their lives for a hamburger, you know? And everybody knew that sat on those lunch counter stools. I don't think anybody thought they were really there for the hamburger, did they? I don't think so. I mean, they had a vision. They had a vision of a new world. They really did. So, but she knew you needed organization, and that's why she said, and I think, so far as I know, this was her idea of the conference. And that, because I remember her saying, she said, it's time we've got to try to bring these students together, and that's what she was doing from the base of SCLC where she worked. And with Jim's help and the help of other people, she got y'all on the phone. But she knew that power of organization. She knew it in Mississippi with the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, and all down, that she never forgot that.
When I mentioned to our advisors in Orangeburg that Ms. Baker, letter came asking us this meeting, Ms. Baker sent the letter, and I remember Reverend McCullum telling me that Ms. Ella Baker said that she wants you to do something. You can put your life in her hands.
She was not only the convener and therefore in some ways the founder, of what became SNCC by convening this conference over Easter weekend 40 years ago. She was also the director of branches for the NAACP in the 40s, a black woman organizing throughout the South, traveling in buses that were not desegregated yet to organize these chapters. She was with the NAACP. She was with the Y. Ella Baker did a tour of duty with the Urban League. This was a phenomenal human being. And we are fortunate in many ways to have shared in her life.
But I remember Ella specifically because Ella's way in these meetings was to really let people sort of self-direct themselves and never tell us what the answer was or what we should be doing. Even though she had been with the NAACP, she had been a grassroots organizer all of her life practically, but she carried that right on through to us as young as most people were, to really let people make their own decisions and learn by having to struggle through the issues. And she may have known the potential that was in that room a lot better than most of us did.
And there was something about this woman, always that big pocketbook, always that hat, very quiet. There was something about her quiet confidence. Ella, you never got the feeling Ella didn't know how it was going to end. You always had the feeling that she was going to help us pull it through. And when we stayed up all night at Hollander, was it Hollander when we were trying to get Diane and the Nashville group, the pure nonviolence, as it was called then, and the voter registration together, and there were all... Ella made us stay, and I say made, just her quiet presence, made us wrestle through that night. Marion was arguing big and strong and tight. But before the dawn was come, not only did we look at each other and smile, not only did we embrace each other after some of the most vigorous discussions and disagreements, but we came out of that loving each other a lot more. So that by the time we really got into the reality of Macomb, Mississippi, where Macomb said, what distinction between direct action and voter registration? All y'all going down. Yeah. Ella gave us this capacity to respect the dignity of each person. Whether we liked them or not was irrelevant. And because of that, I suggest to you that SNCC, in its beloved community, mean that from the bottom of our heart. We mean that we want a community where everybody, all of God's children, are respected, are loved, protected.
She taught me, as she did the others of us, that we had to work with what we had. That we had to be resourceful, that whatever was available in the environment you use as prudently as possible, and that you don't stop your work because you don't have a lot. I mean, the $10 a week check that SNCC sent out was actually $9.64 after taxes. People like Sam Block slept for the first several weeks in his car in Greenwood before he found someone who would take him in. But that was what was meant by being resourceful.
That she had this tremendous faith in every human being whose life she touched. And I expect that's what a lot of you remember about her that knew her. She believed you could do anything that needed to be done. She really believed that, so she made you believe it. You know, she gave people faith in themselves. And that's quite radical, because you can't build these movements without those people, individuals who believe in themselves.
She very, very much taught us that we had to start with where the people are. That you don't go in and tell people that you're to do this, you're to do that, but to get a sense of the lay of the land and where the people are, and then try to begin to build the consensus, help to work with them to build a consensus. And she felt that leadership emerged out of the local people, that they already had it there, but you had to be able to, as a facilitator, to help to bring it about.
I think that she had that deep commitment that people should run their own world. And I think that one of the things she did was that she facilitated, is the word that comes to my mind, people coming together wherever they were to begin to do that. She wasn't going to do it for them, but she believed they could do it. She had absolute faith that they could. And if you'll think back maybe to situations you knew Ella in, that's kind of what she was doing, and she was facilitating people coming together and knowing that they could run their society, if it was just Podunk or a little town or the state or eventually the country, right? But you got to do it first where you are, and I think she knew that.
You have this long, long walk, and you learn how to do it. And as I think about her walk, there are three ways that I think it was ways for us to look at it. One was that there's a way to live in this country in struggle. The second was that the struggle should be radical in her sense that you go to the root of something. And in that way, we're thinking about the people that we struggle with. And so Ella taught us to struggle with the people at the bottom. And then the third way was her sense, which Jackie here reminds us of, her sense of family. That in this walk, that you don't sacrifice family. So those are the three legacies for me, that you are in struggle and you're consciously in struggle, and you can carve out a life in this country in struggle. Your struggle should be radical. It should go to the root of some problem. And it should work with the people who are at the bottom. And you should carve out, as you go, your family.
I think that when you talk about Ella Baker, you're indeed talking about someone who was truly a giant of the 20th century. This is a person who defined that century. And I think that when we talk about her in terms of civil rights, we're really limiting her. She was a true 20th century champion of human justice and human rights. She ranked there with Du Bois and with everybody else. And SNCC and the MFDP were, in a way, the last of her legacies.